Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Another day, another video, and another question. After my video that I put out yesterday, in which I was presenting to you some videos with the doctors who were looking under the microscope at the Sputnik vaccine, that was a vaccine that was injected in many people in Russia. Some people commented that this is not legit information and those doctors are probably fake and I don't know what I am talking about. So there is a mental state of mind, which I think most of us have experienced in our life, including myself many times, as you are going through those rabbit holes and loops and hoops. It's called cognitive dissonance. And in that state, you tend to ignore or deny information that is being presented to you. So I'm not surprised at all, because if you hold on to this certain belief system that, like I said, if questioned and challenged and proven different than what you believe in, it might absolutely destroy your definition of the reality that you are experiencing. And it's not an easy place to be, and I understand this. But, you know, I continue with my questions, and like I said, I understand I will lose quite of you, and I will be called names or this or that. But, you know, that's how I am. If something does not feel right with me anymore, and I have some suspicions and a lot of doubts lately, I will continue on that path. Before we go there, I want to say that Trudy and John has just donated on my PayPal, and I want to say thank you to you guys very, very much for all your support and for watching my videos. And one more thing I want to do before we go to the topic of this video today. Someone said yesterday, Anya, please make sure to look at the meaning, because, you know, everything has a meaning. The words have a meaning of the name of the word, Sputnik. So let's look at what does this mean. What does Sputnik mean? Okay, so Sputnik, the word Sputnik is Russian for satellite, yes, we know. When interpreted in an astrological context, its other meanings are spouse or traveling companion. So this is interesting, because if you call the vaccine Sputnik, is it a spouse or is it traveling companion? Because of course it's not satellite, or maybe inspired by satellite, which means it's kind of like, you know where I'm going with this. I don't have to explain. We are very intelligent people here. So let's just leave it there. Now I want to take you to this, because I wanted to start with this photo. However, it has been debunked, because it looks like the current president of Syria, his name is, you see the man right here. His name is Ahmed al-Shara. And there was a picture circulating on social media with this man here, who is holding two heads, the terrorist, or, you know, some really bad person, clearly holding two heads of the victims that he probably just killed. And this post said that from this to this. So everyone probably thought this is the man. Then I came across this article, and it says that this viral photo does not show Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara holding holding heads. It shows ISIS member Mohammed El-Omar. So I'm not going to go into details. Anyway, let's say this is not this guy. So maybe he's good in this particular case. But there are other cases I want to address about this man. First, let me start with my observation. And again, very honest with you, I don't know much about Syria. I don't know much about the dynamics there. But what I'm coming across right now is pretty disturbing. And that is how people, after the so-called regime has been changed, and the previous president of Syria escaped to Moscow, and he's there. I am hearing, and I have been hearing for a number of months, 7-8 months or so, how people have been killed there in thousands. And among those people, a very large number is Orthodox Christians and Christians. So we're going to start with this because I remember when Trump had this meeting, everyone was criticizing, well, most people, a lot of people were saying how he can sit down and shake hands with the terrorists. So let's go back in time for a moment and let's take a look at this meeting.
Donald Trump is a man who admits he likes being first. And this is another example. The first US president in 25 years to meet with a Syrian leader. He shook hands with Ahmed al-Shara in Riyadh, just hours after announcing he was lifting all sanctions on the country.
It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful. And I spoke to Mohammed, and I spoke to our friend from Turkey, who we just spoke to also by phone now, but felt very strongly that this would give them a chance. It's not going to be easy anyway, so it gives them a good, strong chance.
Not too long ago, al-Shara had been on a US wanted list. Now, according to Trump, Damascus is on a path to normalizing relations with Washington, a move applauded by Saudi Arabia.
We would like.
So I'm not going to go through this entire video. You have the link down below in the description box. Many of you remember the moment. Why I'm addressing this is because yesterday at the Kremlin, this man from Syria, the new president, had met with Vladimir Putin. But before we go to that meeting that has been presented, I'm sure many of you have seen it, I want to show you two other videos that are addressing the current situation. They have been addressing that situation taking place since this man, by the way, when I look at this new president, I have very uncomfortable feelings about the energy of this man, okay? Let me just put this way. I don't know much, but it doesn't feel like decent person, let's put it this way. So let's go to those two great interviews from Redacted. If you haven't seen it, there we go. We start with this one first.
Christians are being slaughtered in Syria, and the mainstream media completely ignoring the story once again. For days now in Syria, there's been a systemic, unprecedented massacre of Christians, the killing of monks, the burning of monasteries, burning of entire Orthodox villages, which you can see fires from a distance. I mean, miles away, these Christian villages being burned. Alawite villages, Christian villages, all in Syria.
I just stopped this for a moment to say two things. First, it's very hard to find those images on social media anymore. A lot of them have been removed. So if you have it, then you've seen it probably. If you haven't, it might be not easy to come across it. And second, information, I have some delay on internet, so apologies for this.
Syrian government isn't doing anything to stop it because this is exactly what they want, of course. Instead of stopping it, they're inviting the new leader of Syria, who's an ISIS terrorist, to the United Nations to wine and dine him, celebrate his new leadership and his clean-kept beard and his hair gel. They don't want you to remember what he used to look like. There he is, whining and dining with Emmanuel Macron. Christians are taking to the streets in protest of these brutal killings across Syria, saying, "We are soldiers of Christ." Watch. We're trying to fight back, but of course, they're sitting targets at the moment without any help. Professor Joshua Landis is the author of Syria Comment, SyriaComment.com, and the director of the Center for Middle East Studies at the University of Oklahoma, and he joins us now. Professor Landis, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Pleasure being here.
You know, when I see this picture, it just strikes me right in the stomach. And you see this picture of Jolani, you know, at the United Nations, all clean kept, you know, beard, hair gel. People we're trying to wipe clean his past as a terrorist. And what hope do these Christians have when you have a leader who's a literal terrorist and not doing anything to stop the slaughtering of Christians?
Well, it is an extraordinary, striking change that's going on in Syria. Here in 2003, when the United States invaded Iraq, Jolani left Damascus as a young 21-year-old and went to fight the United States in Iraq. And he was arrested by Americans for 5 years. Petraeus was the lead general there, and he joined Al-Qaeda, graduated up, became a right-hand man to Caliph Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, and was sent to Syria in 2011 to form a Syrian branch of Al-Qaeda called the Nusra. And he did that with spectacular results, and it became the most powerful militia in Syria. And we've got to remember the United States was supporting the Syrian opposition at this time, sending in billions of dollars in a number of CIA operations and Defense Department operations to support the opposition. And this head of Al-Qaeda was a beneficiary of that because it weakened the Assad regime, became strong. And in December of last year, just 9 months ago, he swept into Damascus with his forces, took over, became president. And America very quickly recognized him, lifted sanctions, and have embraced him and tried to get him to sign a peace agreement with Israel. So it is an extraordinarily sort of rapid change, and it means the minorities of Syria and the Christians are an important minority. But there are others, as you mentioned, the Alawites, 10, 12% of Syria live on the coast, the Druze, 3% live in the south, the Kurds up in the north. All of them are terrified today because these Sunni supremacists, this very fundamentalist branch of Sunni Islam, has taken power and is really treating the minorities with great disdain. And there have been massacres, both on the coast against the Alawites, 17,000 killed in March. In July, in the Druze area, almost 2,000 people were killed, and there's fighting going on today in the Kurdish region. So it's a very fraught situation. Many minorities are leaving Syria every day.
All right, so we've heard from this gentleman. Now let's go to another clip. The same story from a different perspective.
Acting so surprised that the Syrian regime has allowed killing of innocent civilians in Syria, even though the people who run Syria now, after the overthrow of Bashar al-Assad, are known al-Qaeda terrorists. The State Department has long since known that. We are not surprised, and neither is Kevork Almassian, our next guest. He is an Armenian Orthodox Christian who was born in Syria, award-winning journalist who has been warning about this on Redacted for more than 3 years. He joins us to discuss this violence that was easily foreseeable. Kevork, thank you for joining us. And can you explain the scope of what's happening and whether or not it's nascent? Maybe it's nascent to the news, but not us.
The number of the casualties in Syria is with thousands. And today, a European MEP, member of European Parliament, who was in Syria, he's from Greece, he estimates the death toll by 7,000 innocent civilians between Christians and Alawites in the coastal cities of Syria. Basically, what happened is Jolani, who is now self-elected or self-selected president of Syria, he sent his gangs, Al-Qaeda gangs, to Latakia in order to suppress the Alawite civilians there, under the claim that those are regime remnants. The videos that we receive and the footage we receive from Syria are overwhelmingly of civilians. Kids, children, even newborn babies and women and men, they have been executed in daylight in the streets, and all documented on video, because the goal is not only to kill, but is also pleasure. They're having pleasure by killing all these ordinary people. And we have warned about this for a long time, because we have cases in the past that we can build on and see on which side received all these weapons. Basically, they are Al-Qaeda affiliates. The leader of this group is the founder of the Al-Qaeda offshoot in Syria. He was the partner of Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. He used to send car bombs in Iraq in Shia neighborhoods in order to kill civilians. Therefore, we have a track record that we can build on. However, Jake Sullivan in 2012, he said Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria in his email to Hillary Clinton. Later, we have Hillary Clinton herself admitting that civil war, sectarian civil war in Syria is not necessarily a bad thing, because then this could benefit Israel in the region. Because
Yes,
this
I have
will
an
lead
image
into...
of that. We learned this from WikiLeaks. I'd like to bring that up while you're talking. Please continue.
Yeah, and in this case, Hillary Clinton knew that this type of warfare that they have waged against Syria by giving all these weapons to the radical elements in the Syrian society and importing all these multinational Takfiri jihadi groups into Syria, this will lead eventually into mass murder of the religious and ethnic minorities, because the Takfiris do not see the Christians and the Alawites and the other ethnic and religious minorities as human beings. In their minds, once you open your eyes and you were born a Christian, they can kill you. This is in their ideology. Therefore, giving them weapons and then acting surprised and shocked that something like this happened. Imagine the audacity of the European Union, that they not only act shocked, but they blame the victims. They said this killing in Syria happened due to the Assad regime remnants. And not, like all these civilians who were killed.
That's what they're calling them. They're saying that they're actively protesting on behalf of Bashar al-Assad. That doesn't look like the case to me. It looks like they're actively trying to live their lives. Can you explain that nuance, please?
Natalie, when Saddam Hussein was overthrown, this was a terminology used by the United States in order to follow the resistance in Iraq and kill them by saying those are Saddamists or those are the Saddam regime remnants. And now they copy this experience in Syria, and this is being repeated also by Arabic press, that those are the supporters of Assad. But the truth of the matter is, if Assad returns tomorrow to Syria, I assure you, the so-called Assad loyalists and Assad regime remnants, they're the ones who are going to kill him, because he abandoned them and he fled to Moscow. So in their eyes of this resistance who is fighting against Jolani's gangs, Assad is a traitor. This is how they see it. But in the press, because they want to normalize the killing and bring legitimacy to the Jolani regime, they are trying to tell us that Assad in Moscow is waging an insurgency against the elements of these Jolani gangs. No, Jolani kicked out the Alawites and the Christians from their jobs. People are poor and their people cannot even secure bread. So the people reach to the edge because they have lost their jobs. There is no any government support for them, and they're being persecuted now by this gang. So of course, those who used to be in the Syrian army in the past, they will try to defend their families. But if you watch the footage, have you seen one militant from the former Syrian army soldiers in this footage? They're killing civilians. They're going from one door to another, taking people out, first torturing them, humiliating them, and then killing them under the sunlight. This is very horrendous. And I just want to say one thing. If Tulsi Gabbard by any chance is watching, she knew about it and she told the truth about Syria. Yes. That's why they demonized her. That's why they called her, she's the Assad darling or something. She knew who are
toady,
these groups.
Toady, yes, which is what Barry Weiss called her, an Assad toady, a monstrous Assad toady. Yet.
Okay, so you remember the conflict in Ukraine? I know we all do, don't we? Still going on. You remember Zelensky destroying Orthodox churches across many areas, many places in Ukraine? You know that. And you know Russia does not like it, right? Because they are killing the Orthodox Christians, and they are burning the Orthodox churches. So do you think during this meeting that took place, I think it was yesterday, the first question that President Putin asked his guest is, why are you killing innocent Christians? Do you think that was the question he asked? So let's look at this meeting, and please don't pay attention to the title of this video because this is Times of India. Very often it chooses to put the clickbait title. So let's take a listen. This is translated already into English by AI. That's a good side of AI. And we're gonna take a listen to how nicely the meeting went, because when Trump was meeting with this president of Syria, he was called a bad guy because this is terrorist. But when Putin is meeting with him, that he will be called a great diplomat because he probably is keeping the enemy close. You know what? I am done with this narrative that keep the enemy closer, because I am now at this point looking that none of them are actually friends of humanity. So let's take a listen.
Over many decades, special relations have developed between our countries. For more than 80 long and eventful years, we have consistently maintained strong and enduring diplomatic ties, which were originally established during some of the most profoundly difficult and challenging times for Russia, and indeed for the entire Soviet Union, specifically in the pivotal year of 1944, a truly significant moment in history. During this time, relations between Syria and Russia have always been of an exceptionally friendly nature. Here in Russia, we have never had any relations with Syria that were dictated by our political circumstances or special interests. Throughout all these decades, we have always been guided by a single interest, the interests of the Syrian people. We truly have deep ties with the Syrian people. It is enough to say that hundreds, perhaps even thousands of people are connected by bonds of marriage and friendship. Currently, more than 4,000 young people from Syria are studying at higher education institutions in the Russian Federation. And I very much hope that in the future they will make a significant and meaningful contribution to the development and strengthening of Syrian statehood. I know that quite recently, on October 5th, if I'm not mistaken, parliamentary elections were held. I believe that this is your great success because it leads to the consolidation of society. And despite the fact that Syria is currently going through difficult times, this will still strengthen the ties and cooperation among all political forces in Syria. Esteemed Mr. President, since 1993, if I'm not mistaken, we have had an intergovernmental commission operating. It is now resuming its work. I am grateful to you for receiving our delegation, headed by the Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian government, Mr. Novak, at the Interdepartmental Commission. There were many interesting and useful initiatives presented there. And on our part, we are ready to do everything to implement them, as well as the agreements to maintain regular contacts and consultations through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We are very glad to see you. Welcome to
Russia. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. You have a long, long history. It's good that we are playing in Riyadh. I want to say that there are indeed many significant historical ties and connections between the nations of Syria and Russia, which have developed over a considerable period of time. Today we are in the new Syria after a new event in Syria. We are trying to introduce the new Syria to all countries of the world, and we are actively and diligently trying to re-establish robust political, diplomatic and strategic relations with all sovereign countries across the globe, fostering mutual understanding and cooperation. To be continued, we genuinely desire for Russia to play a significant and constructive role, to be actively involved and engaged with us, primarily because there are numerous profound and enduring old historical ties that have shaped our shared past and continue to influence our present. Furthermore, there are many intricate and interconnected ties that are intrinsically linked with Russia, encompassing various dimensions, all of which underscore the importance of their involvement and collaboration. These deep-rooted connections necessitate their active presence and contribution to any discussions or initiatives, ensuring a comprehensive and mutually beneficial outcome for all parties involved, reflecting the long-standing and multifaceted relationship we share. I firmly believe that in this particular and significant case, fundamentally, in direct connection with the comprehensive and in-depth discussions we have previously engaged in and thoroughly explored, it is absolutely essential for us to diligently work towards and ultimately be able to successfully achieve a state of enduring and robust stability.
Okay, so a few words from me here before we end this video. Strange body language from Putin, kind of avoiding the eye contact, strange movement of his legs, and overall very awkward feeling. So how does Orthodox Christians who live in Russia feel about this man? Knowing that he is, maybe that's a fake news, maybe that's also a fake news that he is killing Christians. Maybe it's just the Western propaganda, but you cannot say now it's Western propaganda because that's the West who put him in power. So whose propaganda is it now at this point that he is killing Christians, Orthodox Christians, or other minorities? You know, when I look at all of these guys, and I know I might come across lately a little bit aggravated and angry because there is a form of, no, it's disappointment, but that's how we go as human beings through emotional stages. But the more I look at things, the more I see how truly certain bloodline, certain group of people really runs the world. And all of those governments are in this together. If you still believe that there is any difference, it's just a matter of time when you, if you will live long enough, or maybe it does not take that much time, you will come to this conclusion that it's all coming to the same place, you know, like the Wizard of Oz. And actually, the irony is that whoever is behind this curtain is pretty small. It's just, it sounds scary, right? But that's how I look at this. I cannot justify this meeting as being a great diplomat and keeping the enemies closer. So Zelensky was killing people. And Zelensky is absolutely evil. We know this. This is, to me, it's like double standards, all of that. I'm not liking what I'm seeing, and I think we have been really fooled and played. And the more you get sucked into idolizing anyone at this point, you become completely, your power is taken away. That's how I see it. Because they want you to believe in this movement and that leader and this leader and that organization and this organization. And that's how you literally give your power away. Because you just want to have a sense of belonging. And I understand this. I really do, you know, I've been there. But that's all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, if you appreciate the content, hit the thumbs up. If you don't, I understand. I have a lot of questions, and every day new questions are born. And we keep on going because I think the Second World War has really never ended, kind of looks like. Or are we already in the World War IV? Probably. Who knows? Stop counting that. But you have the links down below in the description box. And if you choose to support my work, the best way is to become my Patreon member. That's monthly support, locals as well, or you can simply donate on PayPal if you feel like doing so. I also have Instagram that just focuses on travel and beautiful places and completely not on the politics, because that's very toxic, as you can see. And with this being said, guys, thank you so much. Lots of love. And remember, we are the leading edge and we are saving humanity. And I see you in another video, probably tomorrow, with more questions. And I'm aware that you might be triggered again but look up the definition of cognitive dissonance. What are the symptoms? The sooner we let go of ideas and idolizing people, the sooner we focus on God, on the true source of everything, the better for us. Bye, everyone.